His skills every day. He draws on the power of wind and lightning. He has a sword, but he was taught from a young age to use it only sparingly. Though primarily a zoner, Grave is a versatile character in that he's able to fight at both long range and up close. His lightning cloud projectile lets him keep opponents away. When they try to jump over it, he can anti-air them with either his knife hand, neutral A attack, or his dragon heart, ground super. This is the basic game plan of the so-called Shoto characters in other fighting games. To mix things up, Grave can hold down the B button to create a bigger but shorter range lightning cloud. This really messes with the opponent's ability to jump over projectiles, and they'll often end up landing in the big cloud. Grave can also control the speed of his normal-sized lightning clouds by holding back, neutral, or forward while pressing B to get slow, medium, or fast versions. Grave's double palm reaches pretty far, and his sweep reaches even farther. All of his normal attacks can cancel into his lightning cloud. On the ground, this allows him to do simple 2-hit combos. He can jump kick first to do a 3 damage combo, and that's his bread and butter. Even if these moves are blocked, Grave is still in a good position. Grave's sword slash reaches far horizontally, and amazingly, it's totally invulnerable, like dragon punches in other fighting games. This gives it some incredible uses, but a sword attack is more about prediction than reaction. It has a lot of startup time, but the threat of it keeps opponents on their toes. It's unsafe on block, so only use it when you have a solid read. By the way, you can tell it's unsafe on block by the big red symbol that appears when it's blocked. The red symbol means your opponent will recover first, a blue one means you'll recover first, and the bigger the red symbol, the more time your opponent has to hit you back. Grave's jump A can cross up and lead to a combo. His jumping B can also cross up, and it knocks the opponent down on hit. It has a large horizontal hitbox, so it's great for coming down on top of an opponent. Pressing C in the air summons the wind. You can hold back or forward to summon it in either direction, though it's usually best to blow it toward the opponent. The effect is so powerful that it's limited by his cloud meter, so you must wait several seconds between uses. The wind blows the opponent back, making it difficult for them to get near you during a few seconds that it's in effect. It also powers up 2 of Grave's other moves. His lightning clouds become bigger and can destroy incoming projectiles and keep going, and his whirlwind strikes lightning below while the wind is blowing. Grave can take advantage of each burst of wind in 2 main ways. He can use it to intensify his keep away powers, making it very hard for opponents to get near him, or he can go on the offensive with it. It blows himself too, so his jumps become huge, and the lightning from his whirlwind is a real threat. If it happens to hit, he can juggle afterwards, including into his super. Grave's ground super does 1 damage if it's a glancing blow, but if he gets a deep hit, it goes into a special sequence that deals 2 damage. You'll get that more damaging version if you juggle into it after a lightning strike. Grave's air super is an aerial parry. If the opponent attacks into it with any kind of strike, Grave will parry that attack and will dramatically hit back for 2 damage. Another important thing to know about Grave is his ability to force block damage. As a general rule in all of Fantasy Strike, when players block a special or super move, the last chunk of their life bar starts flashing. If they block a second special or super move within a few seconds, it will flash faster, and if they block a third, they'll lose that point of life, which we call taking block damage. Grave is one of the best characters at dealing block damage because of the combination of the different speeds of his projectile, his large projectile, and his powered-up projectiles during the wind. Against a knockdown opponent, he can make them get up into a projectile, force them to block another one right after, and he can just apply a lot of pressure this way. During the wind, it's difficult for opponents to avoid taking block damage. Overall, Grave is a versatile character. He can keep opponents away, he can rush them down at least a little, and he can force block damage. He has few weaknesses, and he can adapt to his opponent's strategies well. But can you? Max Geiger is a watchmaker, scientist, and logical thinker. His particular interest lies in the study of time and whether it can be altered or even controlled. Geiger is a zoning character who can control the pace of a match. He's also Fantasy Strike's version of a charge character. Whenever Geiger holds forward, he loses his charge, meaning his gear meter instantly empties. It fills very quickly as long as you either hold back or simply stand in neutral. He can't do either of his 2 ground special moves or his air C unless he's fully charged up. So in other words, he cannot walk forward and use those moves right away. Because his 3 gear meter moves have this inherent drawback, they're very good in other ways. His first ground special move is Time Spiral. This projectile gear has an unusually short recovery time, and you can hold the B button down to do a delayed version where Geiger sends the time spiral slightly into the future. By delaying your projectile, it lets you fully recover by the time it travels across the screen, so you can follow it and threaten combos or block strings. Geiger's other ground special is Flash Gear with the C button. This is an invulnerable attack, and it's one of the best reversals in the game that doesn't cost super meter. He can use it to hit jumpers or simply blow through attacks on the ground. Only the start of it is invulnerable, so try to do it late against jumpers. Your gear recovers quickly enough that you can sometimes throw a time spiral, then flash gear the opponent as they jump over it. Geiger's ground normal moves all have very different purposes. His forward plus A backhand is a long-range, fast poke that can potentially combo after a time spiral. In order to do this move, you have to hold forward though, which means you'll lose your gear charge. That can be worth it because his backhand is that good of a poke. His neutral A punch has short range, but it can cancel to specials. That lets him combo to either time spiral or flash gear. But remember to keep holding neutral or back or you'll lose your gear charge. His back plus A step kick allows him to travel forward without actually holding forward, so he can advance a little bit while keeping his gear charge. This move has slow startup, but it's extremely safe on block, allowing him to do pressure strings of several moves. If you hit with a step kick, you can combo to flash gear. And if you counter hit with it, that is, if you hit the opponent out of the startup of their move, you can actually combo into a neutral punch and then into flash gear. Geiger's Jump A is a long horizontal kick, which is good for hitting air to air and also for jumping in to do combos. His Air B is Phase Out, a move that briefly stops time for himself, but not for anyone else. During this brief time, he's completely invulnerable. He can use it to avoid enemy moves, even enemy supers, and to mix up his timing and his jump arc to confuse the opponent. And Geiger can still attack after a phase out on the way down. His Air C is a drop gear, a diagonally downward kick. Like any special move, it triggers block damage. You can use it to start pressure strings that threaten even more block damage. You can use it to cross up if you're close. On hit, you can combo off of it. You can't jump forward and use drop gear because it requires you to have full gear meter. This means it's important to consider your spacing so that you can work in a jump straight up C at opportune times. A nice trick is that you can jump forward and phase out, which takes long enough that your gear meter fills up while you're still in the air. Then, drop gear before you land. This lets you threaten some offense while still keeping your options open. Your opponent doesn't know if you'll do Air C after the phase out, or kick with A, or simply fall straight to the ground. Geiger's Time Stop Super allows him to casually stroll forward while time is stopped. He walks a fixed distance, then automatically does an invulnerable attack. Think of it as a teleport into an attack. The main use is hitting opponents out of moves from far away, such as their projectiles. Geiger also controls the far upper part of the screen, which is exactly where Jaina wants to be. If she jumps to shoot an arrow, he can time stop to hit her, guaranteed. And if a time spiral hits, or is about to hit, he can time stop to combo for 2 damage. His Air Super, Cycloid Revolution, summons a big ball of gears that tracks the opponent. It takes up so much space that it makes it hard for the opponent to move around while it's out. And as they block and wait for it to go away, it gives Geiger plenty of time to grind them down with gears. Geiger can play a standard keep-away game with projectiles, backhand pokes, and anti-air, but he can also do lockdown sequences and go on the offense if needed. His versatile Time Stop Super gives him a ton of options on offense and defense as well. And as any watchmaker will tell you, it's time to play Geiger. Setsuki Haruki is a ninja student at the Fox's Den School. She's eager to learn, especially from Grave, and she's incredibly fast, agile, and stealthy. Setsuki is a rushdown character. She has only 5 hit points, tied for least in the game, but she makes up for it with her ability to overwhelm the opponent with speed and tricks. Let's start with her air moves. Her air A, B, and C are Dive Kick, Kunai Toss, and Flying Fox. Her Flying Fox can be done toward the opponent or away, and she can do it 2 times before landing. On hit or on block, she can also cancel it into her dive kick or her kunai. Her bread and butter combo is Flying Fox, Dive Kick, Normal Attack, then Super. That's 4 damage, and it's one of the most practical 4 damage combos to land in real matches in the whole game. There's 2 drawbacks to be aware of here though. She can only do this combo if she has Super Meter, and the Flying Fox move has pretty low priority. So if you really need a high priority attack, it's best to start with Dive Kick and only do 3 damage total. Her kunai is a great help here though. When she's far, she can throw it pretty safely and use it as cover. This lets her do Flying Fox more safely, and it can lead to a whopping 5 damage combo if the opponent somehow happens to get hit by the kunai. It's possible for opponents to hit the kunai out of the air to avoid damage, but it's still a great way to fish for an opening. Now for her ground moves. Her slide is safe on block, and it gives plenty of frame advantage, meaning she recovers before the opponent. Her neutral AA is a 2-hit series of knee, then elbow. Her knee is one of the fastest moves in the game. Though it doesn't normally combo to elbow, it's still a good pressure sequence, and if you counter hit with the knee, meaning you hit the opponent out of the start of a move, then it really does combo to the elbow. For example, if someone tries to throw you and you hit them out of their throw attempt with AA, it will be a true combo for 2 damage. Her double palm, which she learned from Grave, reaches a bit farther than her knee. Characters can't usually cancel normal moves to super, but Setsuki's knee, elbow, and double palm can all cancel to super. Her slide doesn't cancel into her super, but it can still combo to super anyway after the slide recovers, if you hit with it just right. Her ground super, Esper Dash, has come up a lot already. Unlike most supers in Phantasy Strike, this one is mostly for combos. It's not invulnerable at the start, and one of Setsuki's weaknesses is that she has no true reversal. That said, her super does become invulnerable after it travels a bit, so you can go through projectiles if you plan ahead. Setsuki's B is her ninja port. She dashes forward and hits as she flickers into an invulnerable state, then she ends with a very high priority kick with a huge hitbox. It's kind of like a Dragon Punch from other games, but she can only do it after the ninja port. Her double palm combos to the first hit of the ninja port kick for a true 2 damage combo, but it's a bit risky to do because she's then committed to do the big kick at the end, which they might punish. The 2 hits of her ninja port kick don't usually combo, but if you space yourself correctly at the max range of the move, they do combo. The ninja port kick is great at hitting jumpers, and if the opponent doesn't jump, she can hold the B button down to end with a special throw instead. She can generally use this move to cause a lot of confusion and make the opponent question whether they should jump and which direction they should try to block. Setsuki's C button special is Starlight Tumbler. If you hold the C button down, she does a special throw that the opponent has to jump to avoid. Remember, jumps always beat special throws. If you press C instead of holding it, then you can end with either A, B, C, or Super. You basically get the same moves as if you were jumping. Ending with A, the dive kick, allows you to keep up your pressure. Ending with B can be useful to change your trajectory, allowing you to avoid things like Rook C throw. Ending with C is great to hit jumpers who are trying to avoid your special throw. Ending with Super is kind of a trick shot, but it means the opponent can't simply react with a reversal every time they see your Starlight Tumbler. Setsuki's Air Super is a parry move, sort of like Graves, but with Setsuki's own flair. After she parries an attack, she disappears, leaving a log in her place. The log can hit the opponent depending on the spacing. Also, Setsuki teleports to the ground and becomes invisible. You can actually control which side she teleports to by holding left or right. Sometimes she can juggle the opponent for a second damage, but in any case, she can use her few seconds of invisibility to confuse the opponent into taking even more damage. Unlike Graves' air parry super, Setsuki's works even against projectiles. You can even use it when you're full screen from the opponent in order to turn invisible if you want. When you put all these pieces together, Setsuki can take control of a match. She can throw kunais looking for an opportunity to start her pressure. Then she can go in with Flying Fox threatening a 4 damage combo. She can also pressure with Starlight Tumbler and with her ninja port moves, making the opponent feel like she's all over the place. She takes more inputs per second to play than any other character, which is fitting for a character all about speed. Keep practicing and make the Fox's Den School proud. Garrus Rook was once a man, but is now a mighty stone golem. He created the Fantasy Strike tournament as an Olympic-style event to unite the disparate peoples of the realm. As a fighter, Rook is a grappler. He wants to get close to his opponents and throw them. And he's a grappler player's dream because he's got so many tools to get in. Plus, Rook has 8 hit points, the most in the game. His drawbacks are slow walk speed and no projectile attacks, so he really does have to get in. Rook's most important move is his special throw on his C button, Windmill Crusher. It has slow startup for a throw, but to make up for that, it has super armor, meaning he can take a hit and still perform a grab. That means Rook can throw opponents if they try to jump at him and attack. He can throw opponents who try to poke him or frame trap him. The throw has long enough range that he can simply walk up and throw them too. And it has a lot of active frames, so he can easily throw an opponent as they get up from a knockdown. Windmill Crusher has so many uses that opponents must respect Rook and specifically try to play around getting thrown by it. It does 2 damage, which is a third of most characters' hit points. What can opponents do to get out of a Windmill Crusher? To answer that, we have to understand the difference between a special throw and a normal throw in Fantasy Strike. Windmill Crusher is a special throw. You can jump to get out of special throws. Whenever you input a jump, your character takes 3 frames, which is 3/60th of a second, to prepare for the jump. These are called pre-jump frames, and even these pre-jump frames are immune to special throws. So if your opponent is knocked down right in front of you, and you make them get up into a Windmill Crusher, they can simply hold jump to always get out. Rook can mix up opponents by using his normal throw. Normal throws have fast startup, so they can start grabbing much sooner than his special C throw, and opponents cannot jump out of them. Normal throws do grab pre-jump frames. Most characters deal 1 damage with their normal throws, but Rook, being a grappler, deals 2 damage with his, and it leaves him in a very favorable position afterwards. He's close enough to threaten with his jumping splash as a cross-up. What can opponents do to get out of his normal throw? The same thing they can do to get out of any normal throw in the game. They can Yomi counter. If they completely let go of their controls, which is a very risky thing to do, then they will automatically reverse your normal throw and they'll get full super meter. Because Rook has both a great normal throw and great special throw, he threatens a mix-up. Opponents can jump out of his special throw, but they can't jump out of his normal throw. Opponents can Yomi counter out of his normal throw, but they can't Yomi counter out of his special throw. And to make his mix-up even more deadly, Rook can sometimes do normal attacks. His kick is a huge attack that reaches very far. He can poke with it and sometimes punish attacks with it. It can actually hit twice if the opponent is close enough. And even though the move is slow overall, the first hit is fast. When Rook is near a rising opponent, he can just kick before they get up to deal 2 damage. He'll hit opponents who tried to Yomi counter his normal throw, and he'll even hit opponents who tried to jump out of his special throw. Rook can use sweep in this situation too. It's short range, but it's also fast, and it knocks down, resetting the situation. Rook's other normal attack is Thunderclap. It has a full screen vacuum effect that sucks opponents towards him, even if it whiffs, and even if they're jumping. It also has a big hitbox, and it can destroy projectiles. He can use it to avoid taking block damage during his approach. And speaking of block damage, Rook's normal attacks can deal block damage, because he's just that strong. Rook's other ground special is his Landslide. It's an armored punch that leaps forward. It can take 1 hit and still keep going, so it can punch through various attacks and projectiles. Landslide is especially useful if you cancel your Thunderclap into it. Thunderclap can cancel to your B and C specials on hit or block, even if the hit is just destroying a projectile. So you can destroy a projectile, then cancel Thunderclap's recovery into an immediate Landslide to hit the opponent if they immediately throw a second projectile. Or you could cancel into a Windmill Crusher if they try to punish your Thunderclap with an attack. Careful though, if they're ready for this, they can be patient and beat it. While jumping, Rook has 2 special moves that help him get in. First, his Air B's spinning vines can attack through projectiles. That's a crucial tool in some matchups. Next, his Air C's Earthquake knocks down opponents from any range, even full screen, but it doesn't damage them. It's unblockable when done from far away like this. After he knocks down an opponent this way, he can then quickly do Landslide to get close and threaten a throw. This ground pound is fast enough that even when Rook is a full screen away, he can still threaten opponents with it. Rook's ground super is an amazing throw that deals a whopping 3 damage. When he activates it, he's invulnerable for a few frames before the cinematic startup. The startup is incredibly fast, which makes Rook especially deadly when he has Super Meter. Though the opponent can jump out of this throw, if they haven't already started jumping before the cinematic, then it's too late. This makes the mix-up we talked about earlier even more scary. For example, if your opponent gets up next to you and they plan to be tricky by doing nothing for a few frames to possibly Yomi counter your normal throw, and then they hold back just in case you tried to kick, Rook's super beats all of that. If they didn't jump, then they're thrown. The super can also be used against jump ends. It has infinite hits of super armor. Even though he might get hit and take damage by the attack, he won't be interrupted and he'll still throw the opponent if they land within range. His air super is a headbutt. It's a very high priority attack, and if it hits right at the beginning, it triggers a cinematic for 2 damage. This allows Rook to own air-to-air interactions. He can even use it as an anti-air, making it hard for opponents to approach him. Rook has a wide variety of tools to help him get in. He can spin through projectiles or thunderclap them. He can knock down from full screen, dash in with landslide, or just walk up and throw using his long-range normal and special throws. And when he's in, his throw game is solid as a rock.
PlayStation